welcome to this video. In this video we will learn how to make tooltips in React using CSS only. Okay, so I want to be able to share these CSS tooltips over many different components. I want to be able to apply it anywhere I want. For that, I want to create a hook called useTooltip. This useTooltip hook will return me something, and it takes argument the text I want to appear on the tooltip. For example, in this case, it could be I am a fox, and the placement where it should appear around the box. Top. Okay, so this use tooltip hook will return us two things. First is the class name, the set of class names on which the tooltip CSS is applied, so that you can consume it anywhere in your code just by adding those class names on your element, and a set of props that tooltips expect from the elements on which it needs to appear to have contained in tooltip props. So whatever those are, I will just spread it here. Okay, so I want such a hook which does these things. It takes arguments of which are text property and the placement, which decides where the tooltip should appear, and returns me a set of class names that need to be applied on my element to show tooltip around it, and a set of props that the tooltip itself expect from the element to be visible or have some content in it. Let's see how we have defined this. Okay, so the class name that is applied is simply with tooltip. The class with tooltip will be applied on the box, and the properties that tooltip expect to be on the element is data tooltip attribute. Data tooltip attribute is used to read the content what need to be shown in the tooltip. This data tooltip attribute will be the content of the tooltip item. It will be shown inside the tooltip box. Cool. So let's just get started with making our tooltip. Before we actually dive into CSS, I want to highlight that I want a simple tooltip. I don't want to add any markup. Also, I want it to be interactive. For example, I want the tooltip to be able to be placed on top, bottom, left, right around the box, and I want it to be controlled. That is, the consumer of this hook can decide when and where the tooltip should be opened, and if opened, then or maybe it will be open on some button click, so they can specify a open property which will be true or false, telling these tooltip whether it needs to be opened or not. Okay, that is all advanced stuff. In this video, we will just concern ourselves to show the tooltip, and in the video description, I will provide a code sandbox link in which I will put all this code there. Okay, so what I want is I want this with tooltip class to be applied on the element that has a tooltip. Okay, so the tooltip that I am focusing to create is with before pseudo element, as I don't want to add any markup on the page, so I am using the pseudo elements. I'll see that when I use a pseudo element, I want it to be placed around the box, and to be placed around the box, the tooltip element must be absolutely relative to the box. What I means to say is that tooltip position should be around the box. It should be in context to the box. And for that to happen, box itself should define that anything below, anything my children should position themselves in context of me. And that I can do by making a box itself. This is the item on which tooltip has to be applied a position relative, such that its children can be like position absolute, and they can go all around the box by just adjusting their top, bottom, left, right thing, and they can always make sure that they are relative to the with tooltip class wherever it's being applied. Now what I want is this with tooltip, the before element of it should be positioned absolute, and this absolute position element should have by default it should size be 0, and it should have 0 positions, means it should start from 0 of the parent, that is translate x and y is 0 pixels. I'm creating these CSS variables so that I can change it later in my code anywhere I want. So this CSS variable denotes the size of the tooltip. This CSS variable denotes the X position of the tooltip. This CSS variable denotes the Y position of the tooltip. Cool. Now what I want is when you hover over the tooltip element, I want the content of the tooltip element to be the value of data tooltip attribute. Whatever the value data tooltip attribute has, I want it to be that. So as you can see, I have something here. I want it to have a background color of black. Let's just make a CSS variable for that too. Tooltip background color, and I'm putting black here, and then tooltip text color, say white. Some spelling mistakes. Cool. So I can consume this here as tooltip background color and text color on it as tooltip text color. So now when I hover over it, I see a tooltip, but it's positioned incorrectly for now. Okay, I have to position it correctly. Okay, so it is, as you see, that it is taking the text that I wanted it to have. I wanted it to have text this, and it is taking just that. How it is taking just that? It is applying an attribute called data attribute on the box item. this is the box item on which it is applying data attribute. So let's inspect for a second to see where is my tooltip. Okay, so I will put a hover over it, and here is the before element that is visible here, and then my normal children, and this before element is my tooltip. As you can see, this reads the content from the data attribute value and has a background color tooltip bg color, text color as tooltip text color. This has position absolute, so it's here. Now let's just change something here. Let me go here itself and put a hover over here so that I always see this. Okay, so it looks like when I close this one, it disappears. No problem. Just split screen into half, and I will do a hover over it always so that I am able to see this always. Okay, now all I have to do is to position this tooltip such that it appears on the top of the box. Okay, first of all, I want this tooltip to have some more styles. Let's say padding of 8 pixels, border round radius 4 pixels maybe. Yeah, 4 pixels looks enough. Okay, so these are the paddings and the margins. I want it to have a text align of center. I want it always grow from the center, text to always grow from the center. Next up is that I wanted to have is be at left, be at the center of this box, that is 50% towards the left. Now it is 50% towards the left, but this edge, the leftmost edge of this box is 50%. This edge is the 50% from here. What I want is the center to be 50%. So what I will do is I will translate this box itself towards the left. This before element, I will translate it towards the left. So I will do something like transform, translate towards the left. And by how much I want it to translate, I want it to translate by its own width, half of its width, that is minus 50%. Its width is 50%, and I want to translate it to left hand side, that is minus, so it translates negative towards this direction, negative left hand side. Now I want this tooltip top to be at some distance from this box. So let's put 2 pixels, so it is 2 pixels away from the box edge, but what I want is to be 2 pixels away from the box edge in the opposite direction. So I will put a minus 2 pixels, so it is somewhere in the opposite direction. Let me put minus 4 pixels so that you can see it is above the box. Now the box isn't outside. I want this tooltip to completely be outside, so I want it to translate again in the above direction, above. So I want it to translate y direction to minus 100%. That is whatever is its height. I want it to translate minus 100% of that in the above direction. Translate y, translate y. So uh, it has translation X, which translates to left. Then it has a translate Y, that translate is to top. Did I miss something? I think so. I did fucked up somewhere. Okay, so it should have translated in Y direction. Why it's not translating in Y direction? Is it not reading the value? Huh? Looks like it's not able to read this value, but why? Oh, the spelling. The spelling, translate. Okay, so it's above the box. And I want the top to be -4 pixels, so it's here. Now this, let's undo a bit. And I have the X here, translate again X here, so it's at the center of the box and outside the box. Awesome. Now when I want it to have a full size, okay, this sizing should happen when I am hovering over it, so I will scale it to the given size. And yes, the size needs to be wrapped in a wire so that I can read. So it's outside the box. Now I want this to be animated a bit, and that animation I will do a transition property. I want it to occur over 200 millisecond time period, and the property I want to consider is transform. So this is over 200 millisecond, and it is animate on this over a duration of 200 milliseconds. Cool. That is the bare bone basics of how to design a tooltip with pure CSS and nothing else. Well, that's it, folks. I will link complete code with all the placement properties in the description. You can see from there. Thank you.